Hello and welcome to Peinteingu. Today, he's late. I'm gonna snap. I was trying to line this up. Hang on a sec. No, hang on a sec. I'm trying to get good at being a streamer here. Hold on. Bear with me. Bear with me. Right. Show. Okay. Endless Hall of Mirrors. Oh shit, not Netflix. YouTube. The wrong red button. Okay, there we go. Oh my god, that's so annoying. Right, here we go. So you guys are seeing what I'm seeing right now. I'm gonna try and use this as an intro. As like a shout out and a fucking paying homage to how much of a legend Scouse Bear is. So this is, for the moment, the Peinteingu intro. It's only 32 seconds long. There's Hitler on the moon with a squirt gun. Defender Bear. Carlos. Denmark Bear. Jesus. Welcome to Peinteingu. I hope that worked out. I hope you saw that. I hope that all went down well. Snap into a Slim Jim. Oh god, I want a longer one. I want a longer. Forgive me if you see loads of like bits in my mustache when I take a sip from my coffee. The honey has like congealed and it keeps like getting caught in my mustache. Will I play it again? Because you get to see some of the original, like some of the old Peinteingus, and like I'll play it again. It's only fucking 30 seconds long, and it's awesome. I was like, do me like a drum thing, you know, with like with Japanese taiko drums and all, and he did that. It's fucking deadly. I was like, I kind of want to fucking, I kind of like, it reminds me of that thing I played the other day with the two artists talking about color theory, and your man was flicking through your man's paintings too quickly. So like, that is an evil wizard, using telekinetic abilities on a sheep, and there's like some kind of landmass below. Hitler is being struck in the spine by a rocket mounted by a duck with a double-barreled shotgun and aviator sunglasses, and there's some sort of battleship in the background. I know it's kind of fuzzy. Then we have Grabbler Diving School, or Goblin Diving School. In the beginning, I was like fucking concerned about, like, you know, should I use like terms that like Owen has made up, and I'm like, I'm a bear and bears watch me, so like it'd kind of be stupid not to, like, you know. So like in the beginning I was just calling them goblins, but like it's Grabbler Diving School, and it's called Green Drops. Oh god, man, honey in the coffee is fucking good shit. This is Korean Jesus. Korean Jesus has an epic Fu Manchu, and for some reason is wielding what looks like a Western Christian sword and not a katana, although it is slightly bent. The green stuff below him and emanating from his lower half is a fart, which is what keeps him elevated. Oh yeah. I also, in his in the halo that's floating above his head, I put the flat Earth. I put the halo above his head is the flat Earth map. Oh, that was a good one. Even just saying Korean Jesus is just fucking hilarious. And there we go. There's Hitler on the moon with a squirt gun. Firmly and it also says back in 5 because I used to fuck off a lot during the stream. I used to like need to take a piss real quick because I used to drink on stream and all, like, so I'd be like, I need a piss, I'll be back in a minute, like, and I did it so many times that like there was like 3 or 4 Peinteingus that had back in 5 written on them. But that's one of my favorites, is Hitler on the moon wielding his little squirt gun. And like the pose he's in is fucking brilliant. Like he's basically doing the Sieg Heil thing with the squirt gun. Like, it's fucking hilarious. That is a Roman Colosseum, and a little grabbler is like living, you know, a few feet away in a little hut beside a lake, and he's just fishing. But what is he fishing for? Bitcoin. He's fishing for Bitcoin. That's what he's fishing for. This was inspired by Rhino Bear. This was actually a Peinteingu that I did pre-recorded. I pre-recorded a 45-minute Peinteingu with like nobody watching, talking to myself. Just like LARPing as a Japanese demigod of painting, with no one listening or watching for 45 minutes. And I did this painting, which is a rhino in like an old school, you know, like 1930s cartoon mobile, and he's after stealing a big gemstone. I actually like that one. There's something cartoonishly charming about that one. Smoky Dick, or Smoky Dick. We started calling him Smoky Dick. This is a blue whale crying and smoking. Don't ask. That's what came out of the hat. I think I got whale, smoke, or cigarette, and crying, or something like. And that's, we drew it. I painted a blue whale smoking and crying, and his name is Smoky Dick. Oh, it's brilliant. Defender Bear. That's me. That's Garlos. Garlos was originally a Peinteingu. Sunglasses, bucket, and tiger, I think, was the combination. And what a glorious journey it has been with Garlos at our side on Peinteingu. There's Denmark Bear's Peinteingu. It was my version of airships at the time. It was like I wasn't gonna do bear ships. I was gonna do like Viking airships. That's why I just did Viking style ships with balloons and wings, which actually look fucking brilliant. If I mean, like, it's like one of the better Peinteingus where like I did like perspective and a background and shit, and that's supposed to be Denmark Bear with his shitty finger and a bear flag, a Beartaria flag. And then down there, like halfway down on the right, on the top of that hill, there is Jesus welcoming the airships and Denmark Bear to Beartaria. And then right at the bottom there is, in the bottom right hand corner at the base of that mountain, courtesy of Scouse Bear at the time, is whether you can make your mind up. Either it's the Loch Ness Monster or it's a big black cock. Scouse wanted it to be a big black cock because he thinks big black cocks are funny. So that's Scouse. But it's up to, like, I leave it up to you. Is it Loch Ness Monster? Is it a giant black penis? It's entirely up to you. This is a kind of an ATV / smart car, and a crocodile is driving it. And then Jesus is in the passenger seat, and the disembodied ghost of Steve Irwin is in the very back behind Jesus. And the crocodile is saying, "We're going the wrong way." And then Jesus is like, "Nigga, I am the way." And then Steve Irwin is like, "Crikey, Jesus, your hair smells gorgeous." Because Jesus' hair is flapping in his face. That's personally one of my favorites. I know it looks utterly horrific, like a fucking toddler did it, but it makes me laugh every time I see it. This is the giant blue rabbit Zen garden. Why would a giant rabbit have a Zen garden? Nobody knows. Nobody cares. He's just a giant blue rabbit and he has a Zen garden. And those are cannabis leaves at the bottom that look like they're just like floating there. The rest of it actually looks like it's in place, especially the massive carrots. I remember when I was painting that, like I was just like, let's just do some massive carrots to go with the massive. Like, why is he blue? You know, has he attained enlightenment through the teachings of Shiva? I don't fucking know. But massive blue rabbit Zen garden. This is a crane smashing boxes. Well, a wrecking ball wrecking boxes. That is all. Here's a bear throwing a sheep into a campfire. This is one of my favorites because the apathy in the bear's face is quite. I really captured something there. Like, Jimmy, look at that bear's face. Like, he doesn't give a fuck. And the sheep looks like a naughty little cunt. The sheep looks like he's like, you know, almost disrespectful and mocking of the fire that he's about to be flung into. Which you gotta give him kudos. I mean, that takes balls to, like, you know, just like, you know, to squint your eyes at death and blow your tongue at it. Like, you know, like, like, I just got coffee all over the laptop and the palette and the microphone from doing that. I need to get like a handkerchief every time I take a sip. Oh god, my mustache. I need to trim my mustache. I'm getting real hairy again. The essence of the Monkey King is starting to grow out of my face once more. There's me again. Is that the end of it? Yeah, that's the end of it. the way Scouse Bear says Peinteingu. Peinteingu! Oh, it's hilarious. I love it. I love it. It's hilarious. It's hilarious. So I love it. Right, I hope you enjoyed that fucking showcase and the intro. Just want to do something different now and again. I want to try and keep the show nice and varied and also practice different actions that I can have on the stream and such. Like, doing window capture is far more complicated and tricky than just doing screen capture. If I just do screen capture and I just fucking hide it and unhide it, much more efficient, much handier. The cockness monster. Oh god. That hard ooh is key, and I was like, I'm always calling it Peinteingu, you know, like, but he didn't even pronounce the G, like, he said painting ooh. I remember when he did it for me and all, I thought it was so fucking funny. He's making brown with his lips now. I am not, how dare you! Although the coffee is brown. But still, how dare you? He's really Asian. Go, Gojira. Gojira. What did you say? Gojira. Gojira. Which, like, Demon Hunter Bear, which one did you say, ha ha ha, that's awesome too? Is the Denmark Bear one? I don't know. Like, or the Hitler on the moon. I know all the Peinteingus are awesome, but I like to know which ones people, like, really like. Paint, rant, indeedo. 2 Acres, send me your fucking address on Telegram or Instagram or Bertaria Times or something. Send me your goddamn address. Because I need to fucking write it down so I never have to ask you again for the fucking thing. And I'll send you the metal concert Peinteingu. And don't worry, I will let you know how much it costs or whatever. Jeez, the screen got really bright there for a sec, didn't it? I fucked around with the video settings, so I hope it's okay. The Hitler on the moon. I knew, yeah, I figured that was the one you're on about. I fucking love that one. The posture I put him in, and like the fact that it's actually a little squirt gun and shit. Like, oh, it's fucking hilarious. Oh. So on today's Peinteingu, we are continuing the Rorrercoaster. That's like roller coaster, alcohol. These are things that saying in Japu, like these things have a high chance of sending one descending, spiraling downwards into fucking madness. Like trying to say alcohol or fucking Rorrercoaster. It's actually genuinely difficult. Rorrercoaster. Like, if I say it without the accent, Rorrercoaster. How funny is that? If you fucking try to not say it with the accent, you still kind of end up saying it because you're just rolling the L's. Rorrercoaster. Or maybe I've been speaking Japu so long that I just cannot not put the accent on. Cripes! Fine! you weren't in the chat the last 2 streams. So I was just like, where's this cunt at? Like, oh. Oh, fuck. Right. Jesus, who are all these now? They appear to be neighbours. I'm not sure. Do I have honey on my beard? No, it appears not. Okay. Placing my royal rag on my royal knee. Oh, God. Oh. Oh, that was actually delicious. Honey and coffee. It's a really nice mix. Maybe if I just do this. Maybe if I dry my mustache with the fan. The horror coaster or trauma train. Trauma train. If you say holocoaster and replace the L with an R and it becomes horror coaster, so it's like a roller coaster of horrors for Jews, that would that's pretty sick. Been very sicku. You were ill? How dare you? Pay it away now. What ailments? What ailments? What are ailments? Where are you suffering from, brother? Were you recently afflicted with the gay? It occasionally happens to us all. I think that's hilarious, the way that like I feel like a lot of us now, it's just if we get even remotely sick, even for like 24 hours, it's like, oh God, I'm such a fag. And like that's it. I genuinely think like Owen in a big way has like returned that whole fucking masculine culture of like shitting on each other, but in a bro way. Do you know what I mean? Because like I was watching this video. I don't know if you've ever heard of Moist Critical or Penguin Zero. He's a guy called Charlie. He's fairly large as far as streamers go. He's like a gamer streamer, and I think he's mostly known as the pseudonym Moist Critical. Quite the degenerate, you know. He's very, very liberal, but he's funny, and like, you know, he can be entertaining. And he was doing a review, or rather shitting all over a video of like this like alpha male course. That's oh, I just realized I have not descended to correct Peinteingu posture. A moment while I correct this. Descension complete. Right, as I was saying. So this guy is basically giving a load of shit to these like these alpha male con men, essentially, that prey on these guys who want to be, in quotes, more alpha, right? And they sell this course that's like $18,000 for a 3-day course of like absolute bullshit, where there's like seminars and like, you know, group lessons and group activities and stuff, but like predominantly this guy is like, it's like you would think it's like a parody or like a comedic representation of like Navy SEALs training or like a drill sergeant. And like he's constantly just calling them all bitches and pussies and telling them that he's gonna fucking kill them and all this fucking shit, like. And it's quite clearly like an absolute total waste of money, and like, you know, it's just like it's a con, you know. It's one of those, they're grifters, you know. They're preying on a lot of men who seek guidance in the area, in the area of becoming more masculine, becoming more alpha, being more in control, making more money, all these things. And this guy Moist Critical was like shitting all over it. And where was I going with all this? I can't even remember now. Tangent, just random tangent. So what happens when you're in fro? Ugh. Wasn't I shitting on something? I can't remember. Oh yeah, it's because like we all just, yeah. That's the line of thought I was on, is because when one of us is like mildly ill nowadays, when we just keep calling each other fags and we're saying we're gay and shit because we're not, like, you know, crushing and stuff. It's like that's what reminded me of that. Is like Owen has like reinvigorated this culture of men shitting on each other in a humorous way to dispel victim mentality, and also like inspire and shame like all at the same time. Like, you feel shamed and then you feel inspired to do better, and it's also humorous, so like it alleviates stress and like tension and shit. um and it is an art form, you know, because like you can easily, like those guys do, you can easily just like you can easily just go with negative reinforcement. And like, negative reinforcement doesn't work with most people. It kind of works with me because of the kind of shitty way me dad brought me up, in that sense. Where like I think I said that on the stream one time, where the first time I ever mowed the garden, I was like really proud of myself. And my mom was like, yeah, you did a fine job or whatever, like it's a bit messy or whatever, but it's the first time you've ever used the lawnmower, and it's the first time you've ever fucking tried to, you know, because there's a way you're supposed to mow the lawn to make it look nice, like, you know. And here we just call it cutting the grass. You know, for you Americans, it's like, I'm gonna mow the lawn. We don't call it a lawn, we just call it cut the grass. Oh, the grass needs to be cut, because that's what it is, you know. But anyway, my father came home from work, and before he got off the bike, and before he didn't even take his helmet off, or like his leathers. Like, he was standing there in the bike helmet and the leathers, and he just flipped the top of it up so I could hear him. And he was just like, I could have hired a blind man and his dog to do a better job than that. Like, and I was just standing there looking at him being like, you fucking dickhead. Like, and it was like that with my art as well. It wasn't that bad with my art, but like, I'd show him stuff, and instead of being like, oh yeah, like you're getting good at shading, or like, oh that's a really cool idea, or like, oh I like the colours you use in that, or whatever, he'd look at it for a few minutes and like would clearly have a face on him of like, you know, an analytic assessment face, not a like, oh my son has created something. And then he'd turn around and say something like, yeah, it's good, yeah, but you know, you need to work on your hands and your feet. You know, they need work, but other than that, it's okay. It was always this sense of like, I could never do something to a degree that he was just satisfied with. I always needed to improve. I always needed to do better, which in a sense is a good mindset, you know, that like constant improvement, constant leveling up, like all that shit. But when you're young and you're kind of like, you know, like a first world, middle class, sheltered enough, not sheltered, like I still went out with my friends, but fucking, yes, I did hang around fucking estates that were still being built and building sites, and go under trains and bridges and stuff like that, and throw rocks at things, and hang around by rivers and like, you know, I still got that, you know, of like the 80s kids, the early 90s kids, of like you went out and then come back till dark. But I also got the like, you know, I didn't really need or want for anything for most of my life. Both, like, for a good portion of my life, both of my parents were working, so I was left alone a lot, and like I didn't have to like babysit my sister really, because they ended up putting her in creche or like some kind of like you know, youth group or something, like. And even when I did need to mind her, there was no really minding involved in her, you know. So I didn't have a lot of responsibilities, and I didn't have all this fucking shit, like. And the way the unfortunate result of like how easy certain aspects of my life was, and then how hard and traumatizing other ones were, was like when my dad decided to like fuck off and leave one day. I was like incredibly ill-equipped to like grow up into a man that quickly and assume all these responsibilities of like being the man of the house and like going out and getting a job and supporting my mother and my sister and all these. I didn't do any of that for fucking like years. Like I just hated my parents for wrecking everything. I did feel an obligation to defend my sister from like certain things, like, you know, seeing them argue or like, you know, shit like that, especially when she was younger. But I am and was incredibly infantilized in many aspects of my life, and that's what's preyed on a lot these days. It's like people like that. It's like, you want to be a real man, you know? Well, then you're gonna have to pay me money and do all this shit. Like, do you know? And it's like, I got cursed with the infantilization on one side, but on another end of the spectrum, I'm like decades ahead of guys who would fall for a con like that. Like grown ass men with kids, like, do you know what I mean? Like fucking in their 40s and shit, being shouted at like it while wearing shorts, getting threatened to put into a fucking ice bath as a punishment or something, like, in all in it after blowing 18 grand on a course that's supposed to make you more alpha, and this guy's just like shouting at you like a drill sergeant. It's like I have an incredible amount of wisdom as a result of how many times I fucked up in the past like 15 years. In the past 15 years, I've like I've eaten so much candy and sugar that my teeth rotted out of my head. My posture has like like my physiology has changed because I just sat around smoking weed, playing video games. Even my hands are like quite not arthritic, but like stiff, and the tendons aren't like supple and stuff, because I've just spent a lot of times like I've spent so much time just like gripping something, you know. Whether it was my cock or a controller or a fucking like there's loads of like handicaps that I've like fucked myself into, like as a result of all, like trying to like do all this stuff and fucking it up. Like, you know, I got a few jobs, like several jobs, and like made mistakes and then got fucked over as well, because the job situation in this country is like an absolute joke for the most part, like but it's like I still feel blessed. I still feel like I'm better off than so many people, because like simply because I've seen so much shit and been through so much shit and fucked up so much shit that I've learned so much. I've learned to avoid so many of these traps and these things, like, you know. It's just like, it's funny to me how like when I seen that, and from being in this community as well with the bears and stuff, where like everyone's like trying to like help each other and like inspire each other, and like regularly show what hard work and determination and doing good stuff for the sake of it being good stuff, like, you know, what it can do and what it can provide and perpetuate and all these things, like, versus the world I grew up with, where it was like dog eat dog, you know, you better do something, you better conform and like do all these things that these people want you to do, and you know, reach their expectations of you, or you won't get enough job, you won't get a good enough job, you won't get enough money, and like you'll be homeless, and like everyone will just, like, do you know what I mean? It's like the implications that still are like given to young people is like, do this or you're fucked, you know, do this or like, you know, the authority will come for you, like all this, like there's so much, like even with the Santa Claus narrative, like, do you know what I mean? If you're not good, and good is these parameters, you know, then you won't get, you know, nice things, you know, you get a big bag of coal instead, like. And like the government does the same fucking thing to you, like, do you know what I mean? It's like, you know, don't do these things, like, or we'll put you in a fucking cell. And like loads of the stuff you're like, oh yeah, I agree with that. You know, don't kill anybody, don't steal shit, don't do that, don't do this. Like, but then now we have like, and even back then, like, you know, there's always been like a lot of laws that everybody knows is bullshit. You know, like everybody in the society is like, yeah, like that doesn't make any sense. Why do we have a law for that? Like, you know, and then like it won't change, and then there's always controversy about it and all this fucking shit. Like we like on a fundamental level, we live in a we live in a like in my humble opinion, you know, I'm not trying to sound like a smart ass right now or anything, like, but like we do live, at least in this timeline, we are inundated, we are like drowning in stupidity, utter stupidity, inefficiency, pathology. Like, I'm a really emotional guy. Do you know what I mean? And for me to turn around and be like, our society is so pathological, like, do you know what I mean? Like, I've fucked up in so many things in my life, and I'm fucking, like, in so many ways, a fucking absolute retard. But I can see the forest through the trees. So, to me, like, being self-aware to a certain degree, I'm like, hold on a minute. So I'm like here on the like the rung of ladder of like what, in my opinion, what it is to be like a successful, you know, noble, God fearing, you know, good man. I'm like, I have a lot of work to do. I'm like way down here on the ladder. But there's people who exist in a system who think, or as far as other people are concerned, are like way ahead of me on these different ladders. But in other ways, they're like utterly useless children, and they're fucking idiots, and they're drones, and they're all these things. And I think that's what it is like this whole social media culture, especially with women, has like reinforced this idea of like other people are doing better than you, so you need to do better. You know, look at these people and these really with these really nice things and these really fancy apartments and these really nice cars and like fucking incredibly beautiful women and like tall jacked men with like fucking insane jawlines and all this fucking. It's all just like, if you're not if you're not here, you know, then you suck, kind of thing. And it's like I was saying with the whole negative reinforcement. Sorry, I have something in my lip. It's annoying me. The whole negative reinforcement thing is like, if you just shit on people all the time and tell them that like if they don't do X, Y, and Z that they are this, you know, that false binary of like, well, if you're not doing this, you're a loser, and it's like you're just being an asshole, you know. Like the society is just like, you know, at the behest of psychotic assholes for like how long now, like, you know, and the rest of us have kind of just like, you know, accepted the reality of the situation where it's like, all right, yeah, there's never going to be a situation where it's like, all right, we all get along, kumbaya, and all this fucking, you know, these are all like genuine fantasies that will never occur. Is like everybody getting on, everybody coming from the same point of view, like, you know, peace and prosperity being a thing like around the realm and all this fucking shit. Like, it's never gonna be like that. I think the ideal scenario is like, you know, a balance, like a genuine balance of like 50% of it is good and 50% of it is bad, but like because it's balanced, the whole thing is like good. And the reason why everything is so shit the last while is because there's a severe imbalance, you know. There's this like drastic disparity between how much evil, degenerate, fucked up shit there is and how much genuinely good, true, and beautiful stuff there is. And it's not to say that there isn't like a load of good, true, and beautiful stuff, you know. I would put it at around 30 to 70. Like, from what I've seen, you've got about 30% that's like genuine awesome shit, you know. And I'm just talking about like human beings. I'm not talking about the realm itself, because like the realm itself is just 100% awesome. It just works, you know. But our society, our structures, our human like way of life, at the moment and for a while now, you know, if history is anything to be if all that shit is to be believed and all this crap, it's like it's pretty much been imbalanced the whole time. you know. So that's what I would try and achieve. I would be like, all right, how do we get to like a balanced situation where yes, there are horrors, yes, there are evil people, yes, there's all this like trickery and deception and shit, but it's met with an equal amount of like productivity and noble behavior and honesty and honorable living and all these things, like, because for so long now it's just been they or it, you know, fucking the darkness is like fairly overwhelming, you know. And we exist in a stage now where it's like if and I do agree that most, like, I would say that like a lot of people are waking up. There's a big, the pendulum starting to swing. I've been saying that for a while now, that I can see the pendulum swinging. But like I said, as the pendulum swings, there's going to be a clash. There's going to be a moment where, like, you know, all this good, true, beautiful shit is happening, and the other side realizes that and is like, oh shit, we need to kind of like up the ante if we want to remain in power. So it'll be interesting to see like what happens in the next 10 to 15 years, and just in general, like, you know, because there's a lot of talk going on recently about, like, you know, the Irish and how we voted no in that referendum and all this stuff. Like, and, you know, they've already decided who's going to be our new prime minister. It's some faggot, obviously, some white guy who's like, uh, he looks pure queer, like, you know, fucking. It's hard to describe, in a sense where he has that look about him where he literally looks like he has, like, you know, really soft hands, and he's never lifted something heavy like in his entire life. He looks soft. It's weird. I find it odd when I look at people like that, and I'm like, you look like you've gone grey way too soon, and you look soft. Like, if I punched him in the mouth, it would, like, potentially kill him. Um. Right, well, I've just been rambling for nearly 40 minutes. The fucking chat's on fire today, lads. There's deep magic in honeyed coffee. Well, that's good to know, because I've been trying it for like 2 days. I did try it like briefly months ago, or like a few years ago, and but I stupidly did it with, like, you know, normal honey, like not like raw honey. And the last 2 days, I just get like a chunk of the honeycomb and a chunk of the fucking honey, and like dump it in the coffee, and I don't know if there is any, like, you know, energetic science to this or whatever. Like, I think there is, but like it's probably not, like. But when I like twirl things with a spoon, when I stir things, like my coffee or a drink I'm making or whatever, like even my water, I do it clockwise, never anti-clockwise. And if I do it accidentally anti-clockwise, I go, oh shit, and then I start doing it clockwise. And I make sure I do more clockwise revolutions than I did anti-clockwise revolutions, because I think, from what I've heard, everything that's positive moves clockwise and everything that's negative moves anti-clockwise. And I think if there is like movement or like a spiraling effect in our realm, I think it's outside the physical realm, and that's why we can't feel it. You know, I think we're contained in like this giant molten glass bubble, this like liquid glass bubble, and outside, like, you know, outside that, like, that's probably spinning. Like the realm the earth we exist on, the plane we exist on, the level plane we exist on, because it's obviously level. That's why I'm not a flat earther. Like, I think saying flat earth is stupid, because the first thing you think, it's like, hey, it's flat, and then you look around at like mountains and canyons and like certain like geographical phenomenon and shit like that, and it's like, well, it's clearly not flat. You know, like, but it's like, it's definitely level, you know, and there's definitely things that are like more dense and less dense, and there's like buoyancy is a thing and stuff, like, but like there's stuff about this like plane of existence that like fuck all people even think about or know or whatever, like, and I'm not saying I do, it's just like the way I think about certain things, I'm like, well, why wouldn't that be a thing? Like, you know, magnetics and fucking different levels of acidity and how that affects corrosion on certain things, and like, you know, water, like salt water and all, and like things being conductive and shit. Like I look at the realm in an alchemical sense, and I'm just like, I mean, it doesn't make any sense for it to be a spinning ball in a vacuum. How do you have a giant spinning ball of water in a vacuum? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, and I know they'll try and be like, you know, oh well, when you're in zero gravity, you know, water looks like it takes the form of a bubble and it'll like float around and all. But it's like, but that's not what space is, allegedly. Allegedly, space is like crazy cold and crazy hot all at the same time, and it has such a powerful vacuum that like anything that like just ends up in space gets like ripped apart. Like, I don't understand how people don't question that in the first place, where like, so all the planets and all the gas planets, you know, so there's planets made of gas, so that's, you know, that's one thing where I'd be like, hold on a minute, doesn't gas pressure require a container, allegedly, and all this shit? But you've a whole fucking celestial body supposedly just made entirely out of gas. So like, how does it stay in place? Like, fuck off. Like, you know what I mean? Like, just like the way I see everything is like liquid mediums of varying densities, and then sound and light, you know, and frequency and vibration and all these things. Like, I think all sorts of like non-conventional, non-mainstream stuff, and I like that. Like, it's one of the things that allows me to world build and fucking character design and all these things, is because I'm not restricted by all this like, well, it has to be like this because that's what the scientists say, you know. And Jesus God, I'm really rambling right now. I think it's probably the honey in the coffee. I'm just like, I've just fired off into Gravy Town. Can confirm Honeyu and Coffeeyu is wonderful. Yeah, it apparently gives me godlike powers. It would appear that I've discovered an elixir. That hard. Oh no, I already read that one. Yeah, yes, burping goo. Reddit are out. Oh, since I've been doing high dose vitamin D, I haven't the gay half as much. Yeah, I've heard like that's gone around the last few years that like people who are low in vitamin D, which is a lot of people, which makes sense, because if they're sticking like borium and aluminum and like all this shit in tiny particles, if they're sticking metal particulates, if they're spraying metal particulates in the atmosphere, for whatever reason, like, do you know what I mean? If there are solar flares and like hotspots and the sun is like freaking out, and if they didn't do that, it would be like way hotter and like electrical stuff would fail. Fair enough, like, you know, but like the fact that they're doing that, and if that does work and it's reducing the amount of sunlight coming in, then that would explain why a lot of people have vitamin D deficiency. Like, it's the usual bullshit. Like, do you know what I mean? They're saying, oh well, if we didn't do it, the sun would be so intense that electrical things would short out, and you know, people would be fucking just dying of sunstroke in the street and shit. Bollocks. I think that's a whole lot of bollocks. I think if they weren't spraying all that shit, I think we would have had some of the best summers in decades, and everybody would be using different tech. Everybody would start moving towards solar, because the sun is now like way stronger, you know. And if you don't want to get fucking sunburned, you just fucking spend less time in the sun. Or you'd be wearing, like, you know, there'd be people coming up with like a homemade sunscreen that doesn't have all this toxic shit in it. Like, if you had to fucking, how funny would it be if white people had to cover themselves in mud to be able to go outside so they look like niggers? Do you imagine if I had to brown up to be able to go outside? How fucking hilarious that would be. Yeah, like, okay, I need to go to shop for some groceries, like, and I just like have this big bucket of mud that I just smear all over my face like fucking Arnold Schwarzenegger taking on the Predator. Just to go outside because the sun is so intense, like. Like, isn't that kind of representative of like how a lot of this has gone down? Where like, problem, reaction, solution. Where these fuckers are like, oh no, the sun's getting so. Like, that's like, imagine the vampires, right? Vampires turn around to you and be like, oh no, the sun's getting too strong. We need to block it out. And it's like, what? Like, that fucking meme of like the rose and the fucking dandelion or wherever it is, where the rose is like, oh, the pH level is too strong in the soil, I'm gonna die. And then the dandelion is like, concrete, fuck yeah. Like, I think that's like a lot of like these societal issues is you have a load of these vampiric, parasitic, cowardly, like evil, pasty fucking cunts who like hate competition, hate hard work, hate creative people. They hate things changing. They hate change. They hate having to adapt to anything. They like, which is why they hate creative people, because they don't know how to adapt to shit. Like, so they just want to make everything grey and make everything the same forever while they're in power, because then they can be comfortable. They never have to change. They never have to improve. They never have to like feel any legitimate like pain as a result of attempting to grow and all these things. Like, it's all starting to just make so much sense to me. Whereas like before I was always so confused about like none of this makes any fucking sense. But once you realize that most people are stupid and a lot of people are lying, like it becomes really it becomes easier to comprehend, because you're like, oh, okay, so like I have fallen for deceptions, I have fallen for tricks, and of course that hurts. It's like traumatic to realize that like you've been duped, and betrayed and used, and how certain people see you as like nothing more than a cow. It's traumatizing. It's like, Jesus Christ, I didn't realize existence was this cruel and unusual and like just fucked up on a level, and that's the truth. Like, I was at a stage where like along like years ago where I didn't. That's the realization I was coming to. I was like from my perspective, I was like, well, at least we don't live in the wild, because like things like the desert and the jungle are like everything's designed to kill you and eat you, and like the exposure to sun is too intense, and like what if we lived in the Arctic? Like, you wouldn't be able to fucking survive the sub-zero temperatures. Like, we're safe here in this place, and that's good and all. Like, when in reality, it's like we've all been convinced to live in this synthetic habitat with made up conceptual societal rules based on arbitrary bullshit. Like, and that's why everything's so fucked up, because if we were just living in the realm naturally and suffering consequences of actions and learning how to adapt to our environments in various ways and using our resources to our advantage in creative ways and all this shit, then like things would be naturally diverse, and people would naturally be more noble and more trusting, because they'd have to be, because otherwise they would die. Like, it's like, it just makes so much sense now. Like, I think like I'm probably gonna start playing guitar soon, because I'm really aware of how everything works in a visual sense and like a physical sense, and because I'm an artist, like I'm starting to see a lot of it, but I want to hear it. I want to feel it in my spine. I want to hear how shit works as well. So I want to, like, part of me wants to get into music, and I think starting with the guitar is probably the way I'll go. Like I even thought earlier on, I was like, how can I can't buy a shamisen. They're like fucking €1,200 or some shit. Like, I can't, like a real one. Like, but what I can do is get like a fucking cheap guitar and try and tune it and use specific strings to make it sound like a Japanese shamisen, or similar anyway. Like, I'm sure you could do that. Like, I'm sure you could tune it a certain way, or I could get a cheap enough electric guitar and a small amp and do it digitally, and that's what it is. It's like, people like me, people like you guys, it's like, okay, I can't do this, but I can do this, you know. And that those fuckers don't think like that. Those fuckers are like, I can't do this in this way, but if I do X, Y, and Z, I can do it. I can get away with it, you know? And, like, they don't care what the cost is, generally. Like, if it doesn't, like, fuck with them. Like, and that's where you get these people that, like, have absolutely no bother fucking scamming an old lady out of, like, all of her fucking pension or some shit like that. Like, do you know what I mean? And then them having the opinion that it's like, well, it's her own fucking fault. Like, she's so stupid and, like, vulnerable that she's gonna fall for something so ridiculous and all. Like I'd like somebody like who's genuinely scamming pensioners out of their money, like, do you know, like, I would flay them alive in public. Do you know what I mean? Like, I agree with, like, what would be the term, fucking, you know, I agree with, what's the word I'm looking for? Not violent, but, like, I agree with, like, emotionally impactful consequences to negative actions. Like, like, if you genuinely want to deter people from committing a crime, you need an example of, if you get caught, you're fucked. You know, and that's what I do like, the way those countries, like, with kiddie fiddlers and, you know, child traffickers, like, people who are, like, really evil and shit, they just fucking shoot them, or, like, you know, execute them publicly or some shit. Like, and, like, that's it. Like, it works. Do you know what I mean? It does work. Like, you know, it sounds dark and all, but, like, it's no darker than the shit they're doing, you know. And it's like, that's why you get all of this fucking degeneracy in Western countries, because they don't get away with that shit in Eastern countries. Like, you know, and granted, I'm not saying the East is, like, better in every way. It's better in that way, but it's also worse in other ways. I mean, like, look how fucking crazy communist and fucked up in all sorts of ways China is, you know. Now, granted, I haven't been there, so there's loads of things I'm ignorant to, but, like, some of that must be true, you know, the incredible overpopulation, the, you know, insane living conditions where, like, people are living in, like, these things called coffin pods, the fucking one child rule where they were fucking, like, aborting females, like, left, right, and center. Like, it's crazy, you know. But I think that, like, I think a lot of this is just humanity is trying to be something that it's not, you know. The same way Lucifer was like, well, you made me this powerful and I am like this and I have free will, so I can do whatever the fuck I want to do. And it's like, no, you can't. I mean, you can try, you know, like, but it's not going to work. Like, and I was like, no, it will. And it's just like thousands of years of some asshole being stubborn, you know. It's like, pack it in, like, will you? Like, you know, like, no, like, the pride, like, you know, pride comes before the fall, you know. Like, I could, like, imagine being so fucking dead set that you're right, that even after, like, let's just call it, like, well, how long is, how, like, does anybody know, biblically speaking, like, canonically speaking in the Bible, like, how, what was it, 6,000 years ago is the creation myth or whatever. So, like, how many years before that? Well, it's the creation myth, and then, yeah. So what's the timeline on Lucifer getting kicked out of heaven? How long ago did that happen? Allegedly, like. Oh, anyway, right. I've been talking for nearly an hour. I need to put on some music and start painting, but I'm gonna catch up with the chat first. Yeah, Owen started making it cool to be men again. Like, yeah, that's kind of what I meant. Like, he made it mainstream to be just a dude bro again. And that's what most of us are. You know, like, that's what, like, most men, you know, real men. Like, I don't care what anyone says. I mean, you can look at me doing this shit on the internet and say I'm a fucking faggot or whatever. I don't care. But, like, I'm a bloke. I'm genuinely, like, very masculine, have very masculine traits, but I also have some very feminine traits, but that's what makes me artistic, you know, and funny and all these things. Like, but, like, I'm like hyper fucking masculine. You know, like you can tell that just by looking at my face. Like, do you know what I mean? Like I have like the hormone levels and the like shit in my body to create like a very angular structure. Like, do you know what I mean? Like I'm real like my forehead's like a box. Like I've I've a violent temper. You know, like I'm like fucking I'm practically like insatiable when it comes to sex and food and like anything like, you know, like fucking like alcohol and stuff like that. Like, you know, like I could just keep going if I wasn't like, if I didn't have any sense of discipline or like a sense of like, oh, this is kind of self-destructive, or like, you know, like limitation and like moderation and shit. Like if I didn't have a sense of like, oh no, I probably shouldn't do that, like man, the fucking I'd probably be dead by now. Like you know, like, and if I didn't have any like stuff like that with sex, like, you know, I would have like cheated on the female and like, but like I haven't. I've been with her for fucking over a decade, and like she's the only one I want to be with. Like, especially like especially when you look at like what it's like out there, and it's like I like sometimes I say like me and the female get into an argument, and like I get moments where I'm like, oh fuck her, stupid bitch, like she just doesn't get it. Like I'm sick of this shit. I'm sick of these female issues and this fucking utterly ridiculous pathological fucking form of thought, and she's a fucking hypocrite and a gobshite and like and all these things, and I'm just like stuck in that moment where I'm like hating on her because I disagree with her point of view, you know? And the amount of times where it's like I'm right, but so is she. You know? It's like I'll like logic everything out. How the argument started, why it escalated, all these things, and I'll be like, I know I'm right. But that kind of doesn't matter. It kind of doesn't matter that I'm technically right, you know? You do need to like accept that like no matter how you explain it to a female, they find it incredibly difficult to separate from their emotions. It's always like, yeah, but I feel like this, or you made me feel that way, and like, and that one I hate. It's like, I didn't make you do shit. You like did it in your own head, like. But like we've all done that, you know. Like how many years did so many of us blokes say that like this shit makes me angry? Like I did a fucking year. Like I still do it sometimes. Where it's like, oh my god, this makes me so angry. It doesn't though. You make you angry. You choose to be angry. You know? Now when you get to that level of awareness, it's like, damn, I have an insane level of responsibility just by being alive. Like, you know. But like women aren't designed to do that. Like, do you know what I mean? Like we're designed to like do all the manual labor shit and to be like, you know, able to do these like incredibly taxing, incredibly detailed, like, you know, manual things. Like, and I'm not like, there's some absolutely phenomenal female artists out there. There's like, you know, there are women who can do stuff that men can do in a given field or whatever like that. Like, you know, there's bitches who are really good at shooting. Like, do you know what I mean? They can really handle a gun. It's just like the in general biological designation and function of a female is the family unit. And because it's like that, because they need to be able to relate to children on an emotional and empathetic level, that's what makes it incredibly difficult for them to see our side of existence. And it's also what makes it incredibly difficult for us to see their side of existence, where most things are feelings and all this fucking shit, like, you know. And as a man, it's both humbling but also incredibly frustrating to try and use logic to come to the conclusion that the logical thing to do is forego your logic. like that's the conclusion I've come to, is like, okay, well, if I'm going to harmoniously exist with this female for the rest of my life, then I actually have to forego my logic in a given situation to be able to meet her halfway and reconcile and come to a conclusion in a situation. Because if I keep trying to just use my logic, I'm not actually communicating with her in a way she understands, you know? And that's not to say you don't get females who work like a male, you know? You do, you get plenty of them. Like, I had plenty of female friends who were like, they thought like men, you know? And they thought women who like were big into makeup and fucking, you know, very feminine, they're like, oh my god, I hate bitches. You know, like, you get both, like, you know? Just like you get really effeminate men, like. But for somebody like me, is like like same scenario as like Denmark, not Denmark Bear, fucking well, maybe Denmark Bear, but definitely Demon Hunter Bear because I know him a bit more. You're like you're just a dude, bro, you know, and you like guns and swords and warfare and art and cool stuff and like cars and like, you know, like you're that kid that when you were a young boy you were like playing with Lego, you liked trucks, you liked dragons, like, you know what I mean, like just real normal shit, like, you know what I mean? And like it was funny, I was saying this over the weekend to Demon Hunter Bear, it's like he's with a female that's very like him in a lot of ways, you know? She's very rebellious and she's very, you know, she has like a masculine energy to her in a certain way. Whereas, like, the female I'm with is, like, very female. Like, real ladylike, real graceful, and, like, clumsy. You know? Like, it's like, she's amazing at baking. She's amazing at cleaning things. She's amazing at organizing things like a fucking Chinese feng shui bitch. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, she can sing. She's exceedingly female. Like I always say that, like she's like the fucking princess in the pea because she's like, oh, I don't like this and this is wrong. Like she's real picky and fussy and, you know, she's a perfectionist, which for somebody like me is like incredibly frustrating to be with because I'm just like, does it work? Well then fuck it. I don't care what color it is, but like that's like an archetypal. That's like a really stereotypical male-female relationship. Like think about it for like when you were growing up, like, you know, you'd have all the men who are like, oh yeah, like I work in the garage around the corner and I go to pub like in the evenings every like at the end of the week and I hang out with the boys and like we go bowling and all this sort of shit. What do the women do? All right, well she stays at home with the kids and like every few days she has like a fucking book club with her fucking with the other women on the street or whatever. And like, do you know, it's like there was such a natural like separation and acceptance of just reality, you know. But now we've like collectively used our free will to be like, so how many loopholes can we really make? Like, do you know what I mean? Like arguing about shit of like how late can we wait before we kill a baby? like, you know, I mean, is it okay to cut a young boy's penis off and fill him full of fucking chemicals if he asks for it? like we're on another level of like fucked up, like, do you know what I mean? It's getting seriously bad out there, like. But I like I keep saying, it's like, that's not a reason to be like full of despair or to fall into despair or to like, you know, lose hope. Or I'm not a big proponent of hope. I think the context in which hope is presented a lot of time is kind of like victimy, you know. Like I don't like the whole aspect of like Jesus will return and save us. It's like, fuck off, save yourself. Like I'm big into faith. I really am now, like, you know what I mean? I didn't have a come to Jesus moment or anything, like, but like I'm big into faith and how it works. It's like you just believe. You just choose to be like, no, yeah, that's gonna happen. Like I feel it in my bones, you know. But don't lie to yourself. You know, I know it's a bit of a paradox to say you can choose to have faith, but at the same time, don't lie to yourself, which is kind of like, well, how do you do that? Like, can you just like choose to have faith in something? It's like, choose to have faith in the things that genuinely, like, you feel like you could or do have faith in, you know? Like, I've no faith in, like, the Catholic Church. I've no faith in, like, honestly, most religions. I've no faith in, like, politicians. You know, like I've no faith in the modern medical system for the most part. But I have faith in people, like individuals. I have faith in like humanity at large. Kind of always just like getting through, you know. Like that whole thing that Owen says was like my favorite conspiracy, the conspiracy I believe, my favorite conspiracy theory at the moment is everything's gonna be okay. Like I genuinely believe that, and like that feels like I just got a tingle down my spine when I said that. Like I do genuinely believe that everything's gonna be fine. We don't have to worry about it. And like I think being in that crazy, despairing, fucked up mindset and watching all these movies and like listening to all this certain music and all these things, like if you live in that world, then you will make that world come about. It really does work like that. Like, and that's what I've said before. I think we're going to get both. I think you're going to have these mega cities that are like Judge Dredd style dystopian hellscapes, and then you go about like maybe not even 100 miles, and like, you know, maybe there's a wall to the city at this stage or some shit, like, but like you will go a certain distance and you will just find a load of people farming and having kids, and life's beautiful. Like it looks like a fucking Bartarian festival, like, do you know what I mean? And you're just like, how do both of these like exist, you know, in the same timeline? And it's like the reality to it is that like they're lying about so much. They're lying about scarcity, they're lying about space, they're lying about like, and I don't just mean space as in outer space, they're lying about space as in like actual space, fucking like what's another way what's another word for space, like like there being a finite amount of area, you know, like the known realm and stuff like that. It's like how many times have you seen it's like, oh look how many Irelands you can fit in Africa and all this shit. It's like, or like if you were to take the whole population of what, I think I heard one time if you took the entire population of the world, you could fit it in Texas or some shit. Don't quote me on that shit. But like, even when they turn around and they're like, you know, oh, we're all going to live in cities, and then like, oh, we're running out of space, so how do we conquer this? Okay, well, we're going to build up. You know, we're going to have really tall buildings. I've heard that there's all sorts of horrific consequences, horrific health consequences to like being too far away from ground level too often, and air conditioning, the way it works, and air being pushed synthetically through offices and stuff makes people sterile and like gives them all sorts of like ailments and shit. Apparently they did a lot of like experiments with rats, of course, where they like put them in tubes at like varying heights and varying lengths, and they like essentially treated them like they were in a giant office or a corporate building, and like loads of them went sterile. So like, you know, that's probably why you find a lot of these like, you know, corporate women and men seeking medical help with like having like, you know, fucking, what did they call it, you know, the synthetic impregnation, was it fucking in vitro, or I can't remember what it's called, like artificial insemination. Like I think that's like, I wouldn't, we had me and the female had a brief conversation about that before, and I was like, I wouldn't feel comfortable about like you having some other dudes cum put in you, like by a, like whether by a professional or not, like, do you know what I mean? Like if me and the female couldn't conceive a child, I'd want to adopt. That's like my first option, is like, if we can't actually make a baby, then we should adopt 1 or 6. I don't fucking know. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, there's some, for people who are like, oh, we can't have kids, so they seek help from like what is essentially a shaman. You know, like it may as well be like a witch doctor or some shit. Like, oh, you can't have children, well, let's do something about that. Like sure, try natural stuff first, but like, if you can't have a baby, just fucking adopt. There's plenty of them. There's so many of them going around. Like, there's so many kids that could use, like, you know, a mother and a father who really want a kid. Fucking adopt, like. I just don't get that shit, like. And like I've heard that like the whole artificial insemination shit is like incredibly expensive and time consuming and stressful and all this shit. Like, so like adopting a kid is probably less expensive and less time consuming and less fucking stressful. Don't get me wrong, in certain places I can imagine it's probably not. It's probably the total opposite. Really expensive and really stressful. Douchebag is fairly popular here. I love that saying. You're such a douche. Cutting the grass means something different over here, especially in Colorado. What does it mean? Does cutting the grass mean you're like fucking banging someone's wife or some shit? Like, because you're like the gardener? Like, what does it mean? That's hilarious. Does it mean just being gay or some shit? Cutting the grass means something different over here, especially in Colorado. I'm so curious though. Oh, that's cool. My daughter Journey Lynn, is her name Journey Lynn or is it Jamie Lynn? And that's just a typo. Batted 4-4 last night in her T-ball game. She also scored 4 runs. Our team won 30-10, and she got the game ball. I posted a picture of it on my community section on channel. That's awesome. That's like wholesome as fuck. That's awesome. I'd say you were like super proud. It was one of those dad moments where like you nearly start crying. Where like, she's so good at T-ball. Buddy of mine bought a Prius a few years ago for the gas mileage. He loves the thing. Also tweaking the batteries, etc., for more efficiency. The first day he came by with it, I called it electric tampon. Oh my god, that's fucking hilarious. Everyone rags him about it. I fucking hope they do. What a gimp. Oh, I'm gonna get a Prius. Like, you know what I mean? Like the fact that he's trying to tweak the batteries to get more mileage out of them. What a fucking spa. He offered me a ride. I told him even if I even sat in it, I'd die of the shame alone. Like, man, I can't even sit in your car. My balls will fall off. Oh god. You have a good outlook, Defender. Well, like when I'm in a good mood, I have a great outlook on life. I'm real easygoing and I'm quite optimistic and free and shit. When I'm in a bad mood, I can get quite like, ugh, why don't the elites just fucking, turn it up a notch? Sometimes I kind of want the, and I know it's not a good thing to want that. But I'm not gonna lie, like sometimes I do want actual dystopian shit to happen. Like I almost want things to get worse, so a lot of us will be forced to like band together and take action. Because that's kind of what happened with COVID. Like when COVID happened and we started doing like bear meetups, and like people from all over the island were like coming and camping together just so their kids could like play with other kids. And not have to worry about all this bullshit. Just so people could, like, hang around with other people and not have to worry about all that bullshit. And, like, play guitar and look at the stars and all this stuff. Like, do you know what I mean? And, like, cook steak over a roaring fire. It was, like, fucking awesome. It was awesome. But how tragic is it that only happened because malevolent forces, like, were, like, trying to traumatize us and shit, like, do you know what I mean? Like, I think that kind of sucks. That realization of, like, it takes all that bad shit for that good stuff to happen. Like, why can't you just do the good stuff anyway? Why couldn't you just turn around and be like, oh, let's do this, Like, that kind of pisses me off. Like, I wish things were in such a state that people just had the natural inclination to be like, oh, we should just do awesome shit. Instead of a crisis happening forcing you to do awesome shit, So that part of my brain is like that. It's like sometimes when I get really negative or like depressed or like, just like kind of fucking moody and shit, sometimes I wish for that. I wish for stuff to get like way worse to shoehorn people into a situation where they have to do better, But like, yeah, that's probably like a horrible. I can feel that's a bad thing to desire to happen. Stirring water or vortexing structures is specifically for your purposes. Stirring water or vortexing structures it specifically for your purpose. Oh yeah, like I've heard a gardener go on about that. That's one of the reasons why I started stirring it. I was like, that makes sense, because I think like I think the whole, like I was saying earlier on, like I think there's like a, a grand cosmic divine spiral that like we're in, but we just can't feel it, like, and if you take something like water, which is like, I think water is like a medium that we like. I think water is a medium that we really don't understand in a lot of ways, and I think it has properties to it that we no longer use because we don't know how. Um, I don't think it's like divine. Like, in a sense, everything is divine if it was created by a divine creator. But like, I definitely like, I feel and I have experienced that there's properties to water that could change so much about our daily life, but that we just don't do anymore. Like, when you look at all that ancient Tartaria shit and like, ancient technology, water was a big uh player, like Atlantis and stuff like that, where there was just like, it makes sense to me, like, do you know what I mean? Why would you have a dam, like a hydroelectric dam, where like it converts moving water into electric energy? Why would you have that in one spot? Like, why don't you just like, especially if you're on an island, like, like Ireland could use like any island, like Jamaica, like they could place turbines on the coast and then send, giant cables inland and just have free, unlimited energy. But nobody does it. Do you know what I mean? Like, you could, like, I remember seeing this thing in, I think it was Japan or China, where they have these fans. They have these cylinders with blades on them that are essentially like a cylinder. It's like a fan in the form of a cylinder, right? Like a kind of like a turbine or whatever. And they place them. They erect them in the middle of two highways. So you'll have the highway, and you'll have the road going that way, and you'll have the road going the opposite way. And they place these things in the middle, and the air pressure caused from the traffic turns these things, and they generate electricity that runs the lights on the street and stuff like that. Stuff like that. I'm just like, all this talk of like government spending and taxes, and it's like, well, you pay taxes so we can build roads and stuff. It's like, there's a big, like, fucking pinch of salt to be taken with stuff like that. Like, do you know what I mean? Where they like excuse all of this horrific behavior with stuff like that, where we're like, well, if you didn't pay taxes, we wouldn't be able to like build hospitals or roads or so. It's like, no, you could. Like, shut the fuck up. Like I said earlier, people can just choose to do awesome shit. They just don't, because this fucking whole society is absolutely fucking mad in like loads of ways. Like, people could just like do awesome shit, but they don't. Like, that's one of the things that frustrates the shit out of me, is knowing that things could be far superior and why they are currently not is profoundly frustrating. I guess I'd make auto gay away payments if I were you. Way too risky not to. The bear needs honeycomb in his paw with honey running down his arm. Yeah, like I do actually, like, I have like this desire to like fucking just like claw a load of like honey and a honeycomb and like bury my face in it and shit. I'm very tactile and like sensory, like in a sensory sense, very sensitive. And I love eating with my hands. Like, I'm so primal in so many ways. Like the amount of times I just like, I love getting paint on me. I love getting dirty. You know, I do love that. I love getting filthy and then getting clean. I love that sensation of like doing really hard labor and getting like cuts and bruises and dust and dirt and paint and shit all over me, and getting home and my fucking traps and shoulders are like real sore, my feet are sore and stuff, and then you like get into a hot bath and you're just like, ugh. Been a long time since I was able to have a hot bath though. Like, just been having gay showers. The sun's energy may go through cycles, but it's far beyond our control. Yeah, I mean, like, we can't control the sun, but they can, and as far as I know, do control what effect it can have on us, because they, like, essentially cover us with a load of fucking metal particulate dust, you know? And imagine all the fucking effects of, like, inhaling that shit, you know? If they're just, like, disseminating that shit, like, all over the fucking atmosphere in various Western countries. I don't know if they do it, they probably do it in Eastern countries. China probably doesn't have to do it because of the smog over Hong Kong. Like, it's like, we don't need no crowd seating. No, not here. We have lots of fog. I see Asians here stateside who wear gloves and hats and stuff to minimize their tanning while out or while driving. They love their pale skin. Well, it's an advantage. I wouldn't like to get real brown. I wouldn't like for my skin tone to alter too much, because being this pasty white means I only need to get like 10 minutes of sunlight and I get loads of vitamin D out of it, you know? Like, it's like I look at life in a sense as like a game, like an RPG, like a role-playing game, and you have stats and stuff, like, you know, having low stats in certain areas is not necessarily is not necessarily a hindrance or a bad thing or a negative or a handicap. Like, in certain circumstances, yeah, it's going to be, you know, a negative or a hindrance or a handicap, but in other senses it's not. It's like the whole thing of like, would you rather be bigger or smaller? Well, what's the context? What's the scenario? Do you know? You can't just go like... Hold on a minute. For a second there, I thought like everything was... My screen was off. Webcam. Oh, there we go. You can't just go like, it's better to be bigger. Bigger is not better. Bigger is bigger. It's not better. Smaller is smaller. It's not better. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's contextual, like. You know, if you're a really big guy and you're with a group of fucking really small guys, and your objective is to like sneak into a place, you're at a disadvantage and you're the big nigga, you know? They're trying to sneak around and like you can't get behind anything. You know, like you fucking go prone and like your head is still coming up over certain hedges and stuff, like. But the little lads have no bother, like, you know? It's like, that's how I look at everything, is like, what are your stats? Like, figure out your stats. That's like, that is like something you need to do, in my humble opinion, is like, figure out your stats on a scale of like 1 to 10. Boil it down to fundamentals, like, you know? Like, if I was to list one of my disadvantages, it's like, I can be lazy. I suffer from a touch of sloth, you know. I really like downtime. I really like leisure. I'm very Roman, very Greek, in that sense of like, I like luxury and decadence to a point, you know. I like things looking really cool and nice and epic, but I don't like it being fake, you know. Like, if somebody's gonna waft me with a leaf while I eat grapes, it's a real leaf, and those are homegrown grapes, and this sofa chair was made by hand. You know, like, you know, it at least has to be real. I don't think they have the ability to change large scale weather events or trends like hurricanes, etc. No, I think they do. At best, they can probably cloud seed to drive rains and small scale. No, yeah, I think they can fuck with the weather to an extreme extent, because all weather is temperature differential and like the level of like vibration in an area, i.e., like how much energy is in a location. And like with stuff like CERN, like I don't know if CERN is like used in the weather modification. I don't know HARP is allegedly used in weather modification. But like my point would be like any like really large magnet, any large like electromagnet, any large radio station, anything that can give off or modulate frequencies and electrical energies. And then you have the chemical end of things, like you said, like you could dump a load of shit in the air and then it rains, you know. So like, they, bro, they can definitely fuck with the weather to a really big extent. Do you know what I mean? And like how's that for? Like, think about what kind of power that is. Like, do you know what I mean? It's like back in the day, the highest form of advantage in warfare would be like air superiority. You know, if the enemy has planes, you're pretty much fucked, because it doesn't matter how many infantry you have or how many tanks you have or how many anti-air you have. If they have planes and they can just fly over and drop bombs, you're fucked, right? That won loads of battles. But like, if you can make it rain non-stop for a month, like they could probably easily do that, you know. If you could increase the intensity of the sun in an area, and I'm telling you, they can fucking do that too, you know. I mean, think about how easy it'd be to just place a massive mirror on a massive balloon and just like float it over a place and watch it do the whole fucking magnifying glass and ant thing. You know? Now, haven't seen anybody, well, you know, I mean, like, what happened in fucking Hawaii or whatever, like, you know, where you have these huge sections that look like they've been scorched and they're black and shit, and then there's one building over there that like is fine and shit. Like, there's definitely energy weapons. There's definitely weather modification. I think they could cause earthquakes. You know, I mean, if Tesla had technology where you could put something the size of a fucking shoe, or like, you know, one of them old telephones that just oscillates, and if you could put that on the side of a building and turn it to dust, you know, like in a big way, when you realize like what people can do and what they don't do, it's kind of like, okay, so we're all just kind of like in limbo because like nobody has the balls or interest to like do something like utterly catastrophic. I don't know, like on a level, I think a lot of the fucking on a level, I think a lot of the fucking like elite, like fucking the dark hand, like, you know, the evil running the world, like on a level, I think a lot of it is just for show. I think it's to like consolidate negative energy. It actually might be a good thing. Like, I have a feeling that like as you like raise yourself in levels of awareness, like I was talking to Demon Hunter Bear the other day about this. I was like, I would sit down across from a table and have like a coffee and a conversation with someone like Klaus Schwab or George Soros. Like, do you not think that would be like a fascinating conversation to have? If you could just have an open dialogue, just you one-on-one, you know, with someone like that, and ask them questions, even if they lie through their teeth through the whole conversation, you know, just seeing how they respond, their body language, their tone of voice, their, you know, facial expressions, and you just ask them a series of questions and just talk to them for a while. The level of insight you would gain into their world from just like 15 minutes of talking to this dude, you know. And then you'd have a lot of people that, like, you know, like truthers and all this shit. They'd be like, oh man, if I got him alone for 5 minutes, I'd just like kick the shit out of him because he's an evil prick. It's like, that's not a winning mentality. You know what I mean? Like I like think about shit to the point where I'm like, okay, if you were actually like, I'm very utilitarian in that sense, where I'd be like, I wanna know my enemy. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to fear my enemy. I don't want to see my enemy in a way that like the only way I can defeat them is by destroying them. Especially if I can't get my hands on them, you know? So like, that's why I love Owen's perspective on things, where it's like, okay, what can I actually do? You know, like, what am I actually in control of? Like, you know? But like, it would be fucking fascinating to sit in a room with one of these people. Even somebody like Trump, you know? I don't think he's on the same level as like one of those cunts and all, but like, Even like Epstein. And I know that's like a crazy thing to say because he's like allegedly such a fucking horrific individual, but like I'd want to like the screw tape letters kind of thing. Like imagine if you could actually have a correspondence with a legitimate demon, just to see what it's like, just to see what like how they actually work, instead of all these like preconceptions and shit. Like being able to sit across a table and have a coffee with someone at that level who does those things, who's responsible for these things, who thinks like that, who feels like that, if they feel at all, you know, be some spine tingling shit, like, you know. Um, my son just decided to learn to play guitar. That's an awesome sync. Been thinking it was a paintbrush. Been thinking what was a paintbrush. I'm confused. We have terraformed and sculpted. We have terraformed and sculpted a lot of the natural world to try and bend it to our will, but certain changes have consequences. Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I'm like, they can totally fuck with shit. Like, you can fuck with the realm. It won't be permanent, but it'll definitely have consequences. Running these programs along with the cycles so people believe they're affecting the changes. You can get pedals and computer synth sounds to replicate a shamisen. Yeah, I figured as much. That it would be if not feasible in an analog sense, it'd definitely be feasible in a digital sense. But I would try analog first. Like I'd look up a YouTube video of like how to tune a nylon string guitar to sound like a shamisen, or to at least sound Asian in some kind of way. Like, you know. Well, surely land-based changes we've done kind of have a direct effects on floods specifically, but they sell those events as climate change. Yeah, like look at the thing they did in Dubai and all, where they like rearranged a lot of land and like did this big palm tree thing and like the globe and like all this fucking stuff. Like you can do incredible shit if you have the resources and the manpower. Like, you know, you can do fucking wild stuff, but it always has consequences. Like, you know. It always has fucking, and it always like just like a lie. It's like, okay, you've now started a clock, a countdown that will inevitably lead to some sort of like, you know, because when you change something like that, like you're creating an imbalance. You know, it's like when you look at an ecosystem and you're like, oh, let's just kill all the predators. You know, it's like, that's like the worst thing you could possibly do. Like, you know what I mean? Like watch what happens when you get rid of all the predators. Like, it's not a good thing. Like, I misclicked on the chat there. Hang on a sec. Glad you came over to the winning position. Griff, I don't even know what you're talking about. Just, like, heads on pikes. Maybe a loot when you could follow brave Sir Robin on a quest with the rest of his minstrels. I'm not that gay. Well, surely land. Oh, I already read that one. That and our records are extremely short, even based on biblical earth age. Yeah, like, you know, that's another thing. Is like, you know, the Indian records and religious texts are a great example of how flawed our collective memory is, you know, for all sorts of reasons. So, like, there's all sorts of shit that we've forgotten collectively. There's all sorts of shit that we just don't do instinctively, collectively anymore. There's all sorts of stuff that has been hidden from us. There's all sorts of stuff that we've lied to each other about. You know, it's mad shit. Like, that's why the search for and the attempt to exist within truth is so fascinating, because like you constantly come across stuff that is presented as true, and then the more you look at it, you're like, oh, that's actually a really elaborate lie. That's actually like a really deceptive, sophisticated, complicated way to achieve this outcome. It's fucking weird, man. They are better in medicine. Terrain theory for the win. Yeah, terrain theory is awesome. Makes so much more sense. Um, Dring, dring, dring. Pride turned angels to devils. Indeed. Well, allegedly, anyway. Um, yeah, early on, but not short. Says 6,400 years since expurred from the guard. So, see, that's what I'm on about, right? So, stuff existed before we were sent here, or whatever. Like, do you know what I mean? It's like we were 6,400 years approximately since we were kicked out of the Garden of Eden. And then some people say that the Garden of Eden is here somewhere, you know? And it's like, so how many times. Think of it like this. If existence itself is just a series of, like, states, a series of, like, states of being, you know? Like, different levels of vibration or whatever, right? And thousands of years ago, we descended, you know? Well, what if it's like been like that for like eons, where it's just like constantly going down, and then it'll get to a point where it like rebounds and starts to go up again. You know, I believe that's about the same time and around 4,000 years from the flood. Yeah, like the flood myth being common across like multiple cultures and religions is like really freaky. Cause that tells you that it's like most people have a like most of us, if not all of us, have a common history, at least in one point. We're all like, oh yeah, the flood, oh yeah, yeah, like everybody remembers the flood, like, you know. It's kind of like, well, how the fuck did that like the whole realm got flooded? Like, how does that happen on a ball? Like, you know what I mean? Like, if you're spinning on a massive ball at 1,000 miles an hour through the fucking ether and all this through a vacuum, like, how does that flood? You know, oh, the ice melts, bollocks. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's fucking, like, that's fascinating. Like, you know, and then you have all the mud stuff. Like I was on YouTube yesterday and I seen this clip where somebody's talking about like how the narrative behind fossils is like totally false in a lot of ways, and like how can you tell that this is, you don't know how old this is, like, and stuff like that. Like they can they've looked at certain fossils, right, where like of like a creature was like giving birth and just in an instant frozen, you know, or under such a large amount of mud that they're just like buried instantly. And some of the things that they find are like so well preserved, like the fucking wings of an insect. Like, what the fuck? Like, think about how thin and like fragile a bee's wings are. Even if you got a big bee like the size of a fucking rat, so the wings would be huge, like, it's still the same material. So like, for something like that to just be like boom, flash, in place for thousands of years allegedly, and maybe it's not thousands of years, maybe it's only a couple of hundred, but even then still, look at how something quickly decays just like in your back garden or some shit. Like, you know, it's like, for us to be able to dig stuff up that's like meters under the ground, and it's everything from animals to buildings to tools to people to like all this shit. It's like, okay, what the fuck happened? like I remember the liquefaction theory that I heard ages ago, where it's like something happened in the realm where like there was like a massive earthquake or some shit, like where you know, a lot of it was flooded because you end up with a load of water moving because the land mass moves or whatever, but also the vibration, the intense vibration of some kind of cataclysmic event made all the particles in mud and earth and dirt and stuff like that loosen, so everything kind of just like sank rapidly. So that like there's the theory that like a load of mud came in and covered everything, and then there's another theory where everything sank rapidly, and that's another reason why it's so well preserved and stuff. Like, stuff's fascinating, like, you know. And then of course you get people lying about it because they want to run their narratives of like, like people find something and it puts into question belief systems. It puts into question like historical events and how they went down and stuff. Like, so people find something and then the Men in Black show up and they're like, you didn't find that. What do you mean we didn't find that? This check we're about to hand you means you didn't find shit. Like, it's like, okay, if you're willing to pay me that much money to keep me quiet, I'm gonna take the money. Like, generally that's the smart thing to do. You don't want to fuck with people with those kind of resources. Do you know what I mean? Like the guy that found that fucking the water, the pool of water at the bottom of the ocean, and they like touched it with the arm of the submarine and it like bounced and shit. Like they were like, okay, this is like a thick gelatinous form of water or liquid at the bottom of the ocean. Like, what the fuck are we working with right now? Like, and he like dies really soon after they made that documentary or some shit in like a helicopter crash or some shit. Like, it's like there are people out there who will do literally anything to stop certain things from reaching the masses because and it's always I think Owen only said this recently. It's like the reasoning or the rationalization behind a lot of these actions is typically like it's almost more sickening and psychotic and malevolent because it's so simple. It's like they will lose money if people find out. That's it. Like, that's and like to me that's why it's so horrifying. It's like, hold on, you did this incredible deception and murdered people in like clandestine fashion so that you could keep taxes the same, or like so you would make $1 million, or like so the petrodollar stays where it's at. Like that's mind-blowingly immoral. Do you know? That is like demonic level immoral. But it is what it is. Yeah, Earth is about 6,600 years old. Earth. I love that. They diked up Lake Sumas 80 plus years ago, and all that water no longer has anywhere to go when you have 100-year flood. Actions have consequences, but it's not all man-made. Yeah. Can't even imagine trying to start dating again. Oh, bro, seriously, I've thought about it before, like, you know, and the amount of times I would probably go out on a date with a bitch. I think I said this before on stream. You'd like, you know, be talking online or whatever, or even you meet her like out and about, and then you meet up for a date and you're talking to her for like 10-15 minutes, and the amount of bitches that would probably just say something and I'd be like, nope, I'm out. Like, I'd like yeet myself from the situation just because of one sentence that came out of her mouth. I'd be like, yeah, based on that, like, fuck this. Like, oh. The field is full of landmines. The rain events are man influenced. The results surely can be. Yeah, aren't. The rain events aren't man influenced. The results surely can be. Well, like, I'm pretty sure they can make rain, you know. They've openly admitted that they can make rain. Now, how like how much it costs them in sense of like, okay, if we're going to make it rain heavily for 3 or 4 hours, it's going to take us like X amount of chemicals, and that's going to take X amount of planes over how many fucking passes in that area to produce X amount of water. It's like the cost benefit of that, you know. Like, I can imagine it is, like, extremely costly if you were going to try and flood a place in a few days. I'd say, like, you know, unless you really know your alchemy and you know how to, like, get a shit ton of water out of just, like, some kind of chemical reaction in the air. I definitely believe our sinful nature has some impact on the balance of nature and weather. Totally. Definitely. Our behavior influences our environment, and our environment lets us know when we're fucking up, you know? Definitely. I remember hearing years ago about these guys who were like excavating part of the Amazon for some shit, and some kind of pathogen was like released from the earth because they like dug up a lot of stuff that's like, it hasn't been, it's just been growing and decaying and growing and decaying and growing and decaying for how long, it's like the most like untouched jungle on the planet and shit, and here they are just like scooping huge sections of it out, and like all the stuff they're killing, and like all the fucking shit they're moving, and all the fungi, and like just think about all the life and death and alchemical reactions and biological material and all this stuff in a place like that, and you just start moving all of it, you're gonna come in contact with some shit that like you're not ready to fuck with, I remember, I think I told this story before in the stream, but we used to have a serious garbage problem in my house because my ma was so bad with the finances that we actually had at one stage we had a room full of bins, and I was like, we can't keep it like this, like, do you know what I mean? So I I started to put it out the back garden, and that was the only choice I had at the moment. It was like I didn't have the money to get rid of the bins myself, so I was like, fuck it, I need to put it in like a less detrimental to our health kind of thing. So I just like there ended up being dozens of rubbish bins out our back garden, and it was fucking horrific. Like it was like ghetto, like it was proper ghetto. And managed to get a skip one day, and me and a friend started clearing out all the stuff, and there was one bin in particular that I moved out of the way, okay? And this is just my back garden with like approximately maybe like 8 months to a year's worth of just garbage being put on top of each other, right? And I moved one of those black bins, and a waft of like gas or a smell or like just a pocket just like came out, and I and I had a t-shirt over my face just because the initial smell of it all. I had a t-shirt over my face, and it immediately permeated it. Like it felt warm, like, like a warm. It was like I took the bin off, and the place where the bin was just went, like just went, paw, like just out on me, like, and I went, oh my god, and like moved out of the way. My friend 10 feet behind me went grey almost immediately and spent the next like 2 or 3 hours lying down because he thought he was gonna vomit. like it looked like it killed him, like, like all the blood just ran out of his face and he went fucking grey, like. And that's just a few months of decay and growth, because there's like mold growing in certain sections because of the moisture and the fucking all this shit. And then there was a dead frog. There was like, I don't think that was like just the smell, but there was obviously like tons of dead shit under all the rubbish, because like it was like food rubbish as well, like, so there's like all these local flora and fauna fucking trying to come in and like eat all of our waste, because that's what nature does, is it like decomposes waste, it like breaks shit down, So if you just have that after like 8 months just in my back garden, imagine what the fucking Amazon jungle's like. Do you imagine fucking getting a fucking big JCB, a big digger, and just like scooping out a big section of fucking earth that's been untouched for like thousands of years, and just like some fucking demon gas comes out and kills you and 5 of your crew members, like, oh, mad shit. Sometimes even after 18 years I still shake my head at my wife. Still sometimes doesn't get me. Don't think they ever fully goes away. Well, that's good to know. If you've been with her 18 years and you've got kids and you're like happily married and all, and you still get that. Like, I fucking, like, I'm with the female like over 11 years, as far as I know anyway. Definitely over a decade at this stage. And like I love her to bits, like, do you know what I mean? You can tell, like you can just like if you're around us at all, and like you know from just brief interactions on the stream, like you can tell I have an incredible amount of love for that young one. But sometimes I fucking hate her guts, you know. Like, but I think that's true love, like, do you know what I mean? Because if I was just like if I don't idolize her, that's what it is. It's like I'm not like, oh, she's perfect, she's so, I love her so much, I'd be nothing without her, and then like that's the gayest, most cookie fucking simpy fucking shit ever, like, you know. And I'm the total opposite. I'm like, yeah, I love you, but you're being a cunt right now. Get away from me. like, like I regularly remind her of shit like that. I'm like, look, I love you, but right now, like, you're being a cunt. Like, you know, like, and then like we'll have an argument, or like, you know, and like it doesn't always result in an argument. Sometimes I'll point something out, and she'll be like, oh yeah, you're right, you know. And then sometimes I point shit out, and she does this like psycho thing where she's like, I know, right? Ha ha ha. And I'm just like, oh my god, like, like there's a part of her brain that knows she's female, so she knows that it doesn't have to make sense. Like, you know, like it's like fucked up. Like women can mind fuck you, you know. They really can. I think they're designed to. I think they're designed to like keep you sharp. That's what I believe. Blasphemer! What did I blaspheme about? Blasphemer. What did I blaspheme about? I'm so behind on the chat. Yeah, the Rat Park experiments were quite revealing. Yeah, the Mouse Utopia or the Rat Utopia experiment. Like, there's loads of different things they did that showcases that city living is like so unhealthy for us in so many different ways. $10,000 per time for IVF. Wife's friend had it done 5 times. 50 grand trying to get pregnant. Jesus Christ. That's crazy. I could, there's no way. Like, just adopt. There's so many kids out there that are like, you know, vulnerable and in orphanages, or like foster homes where they're being like neglected or abused and shit like that. There's so many children that are already here that need help. So why do you have all these people like, no, we want to have our own child? It's like there's children out there right now with no family, or they do have a family and they've been like cast aside for all sorts of reasons, and it's like all they need is a loving home, and that kid could turn into like, you know, an excellent member of society. But like have all these people like blown money and time on like, no, we want to have our own baby. I don't get that. Like if COVID was a message of anything, it was a message of blood means fucking nothing. It means nothing. Like, this community is an example of that. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, you could have a family with people who aren't your blood. You know, they're not related to you by blood, but you guys are like fucking brothers and sisters and cousins and fathers and mothers and shit. Like, you know, in a spiritual, emotional, like, bonding kind of way, like, you know. So why in the name of God do you have to have kids? You know, don't get me wrong, I would love to have a child, you know. I would love to have my own child, hope, like, God willing, whatever, like, you know, when the time is right. But like God forbid that, like, me and the female went to have children and couldn't for some fucking reason. That's the first thing I'd go to. I'd be like, let's go to a fucking orphanage, you know, like a local one. Like, let's go to an Irish orphanage and fuck it, like, fuck flying abroad and getting a black one. like, we can't have babies. Right, it's off to the village. Fucking. No, you just, like, adopt an Irish kid. Like, I should probably try to adopt a little ginger kid. Like, you know? Oh. Iron Man Burrow! Did you leave and come back? That's how far behind I am on the chat. No way to truly know how a lot of these fossil find are yeah, like, do you know, like, are they real? How did you find them? It's kind of funny that you just happen to find these things. How do you know how old it is? Like, all this shit, like, do you know what I mean? It's fairly clear there was ice ages of sorts with massive movements of ice over thousands of miles. The timeline, in my opinion, is total garbage, though. Yeah, like, you can see the evidence of, like, unbelievable size of scale of like earth being moved, or you know, volcanic outpour, or like huge, like the Grand Canyon. Like what the fuck, that what's that thing called, the Marianas Trench in the sea that's like 6 miles down or whatever. And then you have like there's like salt flats, you know, where it's just like fucking may as well be a sheet of glass in a desert, like. And there's just like, there's all these fucking, like, I just see the whole realm as a series of alchemical reactions and like materials that mix together and have different properties and stuff. And it's really easy to see how this shit just happens over time and stuff. Like, you know, like, do you ever see like glaciers? You have these massive ice sheets that just like all of a sudden will just go, oh, this huge section's just gonna fall off right now and become an iceberg. Like, all of that water, all of that mass, like all that energy and shit, like, it's totally easy to see that, like, utterly like in our lifetime alone. And look at the fucking tsunami that hit, what was it, Taiwan, Japan or whatever, and it's just like boom out of nowhere. Like, yeah, deal with that shit. Like, mad stuff, utterly mad stuff. I'm back. How are you, 2acre? Right, I'm gonna slap some tunes on, I'm gonna take a piss, and then I'm gonna stick around and paint for a while, because I know I just sat here talking for ages. Where's my tunes? Where's my tunes, bro? Peinteingu tunes. Fucking Stabberoo's gonna be like, oh, a long Peinteingu? We're all blessed. Right. Let us paint. First I must piss. Piss, piss! Paint, paint! Sip, sip! Oh, shit. Oh, the dragon has been drained. Right. Let's fucking go! Peinteingu. Peinteingu. Painting you. Painting me. It's Peinteingu. Do-do-do. Do-do-do. Right. The Rorrercoaster of madness. We must resume the Peinteingu. I've placed, I don't know if you guys noticed, but I placed a light above the fucking... Instead of having a light like over there facing, I thought it'd be better to try and put a light above it. So we'll see how that works out. It seems to be working. It's a bit yellow though, but whatever. Yellow light is the best light. Yarrow Natural Right. Oh feck, we're actually painting today. Nice, nice. Back in 5. Yeah, definitely. Back in 5. I needed a piss. Peinteingu! I was just like, if I fucking... if I was really a degenerate and I was just like, right, hold on, I need to take a piss, and you just heard me pissing in the bucket. Like... Or a bucket for piss and a bucket for fucking... Like, I was like, you can't see like my waist or anything, so I could like actually just whip it out and piss in a bucket, right? I'm gonna sit here and stream for 8 hours. That fucker across the road looks real dodgy. A walk on that fella. Peinteingu, 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 goo 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 goo. Okie dokie. Let us get these bitches wet. These are my bitches. We're about to get them wet. What was I gonna... I want to get the cart full of shoes out of the way, because that's gonna take a while. I'll do it in the back. I'll do it like in the back. I'll do a pile of shoes in this one. This one here. We'll use... Yeah, we'll use... This one? Yeah, we'll use this one. Right, let's get this bitch wet. Beat the fuck out of her. Wipe off the evidence. Okay, shoes. Shoes. Well, the first thing I'm gonna do actually is fix... First thing I'm gonna do is fix this bit here. Yeah, that was annoying the fuck out of me. I always get so distracted by all the little details. Okay. Another one here. Right, we'll get the shoes going. Pile of shoes. What was the other thing? We're gonna put like a load of random shit on the bagel because it's an everything bagel. And then what else? We put a lamp in one of them. Would I put a lamp in like? Put a pile of shoes, and then a fucking lamp, and then what else? We got 3 carts. We have a pile of shoes, lamp, and fucking... Somebody said doors. I think we should put wooden doors here. So like they're coming out of wooden doors and they're going into everything bagel. That'd be fucking hilarious. I need to redo the right side of the bagel, so it looks proper. This section here. Where am I going? This section here, I need to go out with the dark shade more. I have to fix that so it looks more sort of angle on it is correct. Right now it's bugging me. If I'm gonna be stuck on a forklift or hand bombing product, I may as well listen to the goo. Why are there so many flies in the room of goo? Flies? What, is there flies floating around me? I don't see any flies. The fuck you? Why are there so many flies in the room of goo? What are you on about, Stabberoo? You trying to insinuate that there's flies? Fucking like... Oh, what? Like if I did have a piss bucket? That kind of thing? Wait! I thought we were Peinteingu, not Peinteingu. Oh, how dare you. We're Peinteingu-ing painting Jews. It's a painting Jew. It's a Jew painting? It's a Jew Peinteingu? I don't know. Whatever you decide. Whatever's most offensive. Like, that shit's dry already, like. That's what I love about that shit. Okay. Peinteingu! Peinteingu. Alright, we're gonna need it. We're gonna need brown and green and red. Like, we're gonna need all the colors, because I'm gonna stick in a load of different shoes. Because if I just make it a pile of brown shoes or a pile of black shoes or whatever, it's like, you're not gonna be able to distinguish what the fuck it is. So, a moment while I make some brown. Stabberoo, don't. Painting goo 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 goo. Yeah. Peinteingu. 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 It's Peinteingu. Painting you! Painting me! Painting Jews! It's Peinteingu! Okay, that's a nice green. Just gonna make it a bit lighter. Oh yeah! Right, now we make brown. Don't do it, Stabberoo. It's like every time I say I'm gonna make brown now, I'm just like, fuck you! Don't you dare! Jewingu! In the spirit of making the bigger everything, might I suggest roller braids, yarmulkes, crypt tips, shekels, question mark? We put like coins, a yarmulke, we put a big yarmulke on it, we put coins like shoved into it. I don't know how I'm gonna paint clipped tips without vomiting. Like, just these like flesh-colored circles. Like, Jesus Christ. Oh god. Rollerblades, definitely. Yeah, I was right. It was a joke about my fictional piss bucket. Yeah, it finally clicked in my head. I was like, why would there be flies flying around? It's like, well, you did just say that you would piss in a bucket in the room. Like, might have something to do with it. Like, oh. First, I need to make orange. Once I make orange, I kind of make a brownie. I pretty much already have raw sienna, actually, which is a nice brown. Yeah, that's like a deep orange. Okay, I will stick on Raven Goo in a while, but I kinda... What am I feeling? He said the magic words. What did I say? Oh. Let me see. I'm in the mood to move. What was I playing yesterday? Oh, I know. Yeah, I'll stick this on for a while. These are great. Not this. This is an advertisement, and I fucking hate them. This is awesome. This is 2 hours of music. I mean, like, you can't go wrong with a title like that. Like, you know, be gone from me, Satan. I fucking love this shit. This this gets me going, like. Peinteingu. Oh yeah. I put a Japanese-inspired guitar playlist in the Peinteingu chat group for you guys to enjoy later. Awesome. You fucking legend. Peinteingu, go, 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 go. Painting goo 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 goo. Goo 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 goo. You've never witnessed paint dry like this before. Pay for Peinteingu. Link in description. Painting goo 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 goo. Paint. No. More white, less grey. Heroically painting the Rorrercoaster. Peinteingu has never breast the canvas like this before. Ooh. Fear the music permeate your spine as I Peinteingu, the best Peinteingu you've ever seen in your rifle. I need some of these to dry before I can pile them up more. Indeed, Sabaru. It is a glorious Peinteingu, indeed. I even dry the paint. Epically. Paint. Paint. Goo. Paint. Jews. Shoes. Paint. Oh yeah. Can you feel it? Can you hear it? Paint. Peinteingu. Every song, every fucking song in existence was created for Peinteingu. They just didn't know it at the time. Dry, bitch, dry. Watch and witness as Defenderu summons the divine wind to dry his masterpiece. Oh, brilliant. What was that? When I did Peinteingu early, I used to be like, witness the morning glory of Peinteingu. Oh, fuck. Peinteingu. It needs to go darker. Must be darker. Peinteingu. Paint. Yeah, it's very bright, isn't it, actually? There we go. That's okay. So it doesn't have to be as close as I thought it did. Which is good. This is good, yeah. Paint. Is the fat one still? Is the fat one still on the floor? Yeah, I still have yet to go behind the desk and get the fat bitch. Thanks for reminding me. Oh fuck. Oh, that's very Judgment Day-esque, isn't it? Draw, you bitch. Shouldn't we be listening to the Schindler's List soundtrack for this painting? What's the soundtrack to Schindler's List? Try to think of the most offensive response for that. What's the soundtrack to Schindler's List? Fucking... I don't know. Burn, baby, burn! Disco Inferno, burn, baby. You have been warned. If you do not support Peinteingu financially, I will fling Brother Garros at you. And nobody wants that. Nobody wants that kind of shade. An 800-pound, formerly addicted to cocaine Siberian tiger, watching, waiting for any chance to pounce, to finally rest his arms and lay down the sign and be flung at you viciously for not supporting Peinteingu and being a honorous foreign dog. Pay for Peinteingu if you have any honor. The links are in the description. Ah! Oh yeah. But green's not dark enough. Not yet. There we go. Oh, hold on. Peinteingu, Peinteingu, Peinteingu. Paint. Peinteingu, Peinteingu, Peinteingu. So lonely on the floor behind the disco. Yeah, that fat bitch can stay there. I'll get her when I need her. I'll get her. Need some Dune soundtrack up in here. This is Dune-esque, isn't it? You were Rorrercoaster, the fringing. So get a cricking, liking, and subscribering. Indeedo. They wouldn't let me claim you as a dependent unless you are under my roof. To my shame, damn Canada. But like, you need to get a life-size cut out, like an effigy of me, and fucking like just stick it in a room somewhere. Try and convince them that I do live in your house. Is it just me, or is it... No? Okay. I thought it was like going all slow for a sec. Am I going all slow? I don't know. Painting! Goo goo! Painting! Goo goo! Right. Oh, we're gonna put a lamp in the other one as well, yeah? Right. Oh yeah. Dun, dun, dun. Peinteingu. Goo. Peinteingu. 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 Painting goo 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 goo. Peinteingu. 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 Right. My arse is sufficiently numb. And we have inserted the cart full of shoes. And now we have the beginnings of a ramp. Peinteingu. 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 Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes today's epic ensemble of Peinteingu. An eagle, a bear, a ramp, and a cart full of shoes have emerged from a wormhole and are entering an everything bigger. Return here at 3 p.m. the correct timer tomorrow to witness even more madness by me, the demigod, former god of Peinteingu, Defenderu. If you would like to support this stream, then do so. If you don't know how to, then figure it out. I will return. In the meantime, be good, be true, and be beautiful. And remember, pay for Peinteingu, foreign dog! I love you all. Riv, Raff, Rov, Paint. God bless you all, and I will see you tomorrow. Behave yourself in my absence.